Everyone, this is Chris Keys for PremierGuitar.com. I'm hanging out tonight with G.Love. G, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Chris?
Not too bad. Now, from what I've read and heard about you, I know that you're a Philly man. I don't want to bring up bad news, but did you see the Sixers lose last night? The series is over.
I did. I saw the Sixers lose, but I saw the Flyers win the night before, so at least we got that, and the Phillies season is in full swing. So sports in Philly are looking up, and I'm living in Boston now, so when the Sixers aren't playing the Celtics, I'm a Celtics fan, so still got some sports left to watch.
Awesome. Well, let's get down to business. As we know, we talk guitars and stuff. So you got your pedal board right down here.
Yeah.
What are you using on the tour today?
Well, come over and I'll walk you through it. It's a pedal board that myself and my illustrious guitar tech Frank Caraccio, aka the Big Scrimp, have put together for the show, and we've been using this board and variations of it for about 4 or 5 years. I've always been kind of a plug-in and play kind of guy, so everything is really in the creation of Frank Caraccio, but basically I use a number of amps, which we'll check out in a minute, but over here you have my amp selector, and so I run a Fender DeVille, and my main amp that I use is a little Ampeg J20. It's a little Ampeg J20 that's all hand wound, and I think they stopped production on it last year, but we were lucky to get a couple of those amps, and it's a smaller amp. I like a natural distorted sound.
Okay.
A little, well, not distorted, but natural, overdrive, I should say, as my main kind of tone. And then I also run a cleaner tone on the DeVille. So at the front of house, my sound man will blend those together.
Do you record with those amps too, or do you got different amps you record with?
I have a pretty big amp collection that I've come into over the years. It all depends. Like if we're at our home studio where all those amps are, we go through them and use a bunch of amps. I've always been an Ampeg guy, so my amp that I've recorded on a lot of my records is an old 60s Ampeg Rocket Reverb 2. And
What do you like about the Ampegs?
well, I love the Ampegs because I always love the Ampeg vibrato that comes with the amp, and that was always my pedal. I would just have the vibrato pedal. That was the thing I would use until years later we got a couple more effects going, but we took those couple amps off the road just because they're old vintage amps and they've been on the road so much, and then we found the new Ampegs, the hand wound ones, to have a real true vintage tube sound, which we like. But so I'll just kind of run through some of the pedals I like are the electric harmonic pedals, and I have a Wiggler here, which is their version of the vibrato and tremolo, which I use in lieu of the Ampeg built-in vibrato, which is kind of unreplaceable, honestly.
Do you kind of go a little faster or a little slower in terms of speed and stuff?
I go kind of a medium. I like the vibrato to kind of be a little bit behind tempo, just so it kind of washes over stuff. I have a flanger on here, which I don't use much, but there's 1 or 2 songs that, I think that's a pedal that you have to kind of use very sparingly, and I do. I don't use it every show. I use it every once in a while. Just the basic Boss tuner, and then another electro harmonics pedal that is one of my favorite pedals is the Qtron, which is a filter pedal, which kind of to me always has that kind of Grateful Dead, Jerry Garcia filter sound that you hear on a lot of Grateful Dead records. And to me, it's an added boost with just a real zing to it. So my solos, a lot of time, I'll kick on the Qtron, and I'll kick on this pedal that's called a Soul Pressure pedal. And that's a good kind of blues driver, kind of overdrive for that boost. Just have a regular Boss digital delay, which again, I just use on a couple spots in the show if I use it. And then the other ones we have here are 2 kind of boost and sustain pedals. So the RC is the booster, and this one gives us a lot of sustain. So Frank's put that one in about 2 tours ago, and that's really been bringing a lot of my soloing to life. And then, you know, I got the wah-wah pedal over here, which we, you know, we can get funky on. So it's a, you know, it's a pretty basic pedal board.
I think I already know the answer to this question, but if you had to pick one pedal, which one would that be that you know, your desert island pedal?
Probably the tuner. No, no, probably, I guess probably a Qtron. That's one that, you know, I really enjoy. I mean, you stomp on that thing and, you know, yeah, and it really does, you know, give a real fire to your soloing, you know. Okay, well, usually we run a DeVille as well. Tonight's a bit of a smaller, more intimate show for us, so we're just running 2 amps tonight. So I use this Ampeg J20, so it's the Jet, and as I said, this will be the main amp I use in the show. And then when I want to get a little bit of a boost, I'll click over to that twin reverb. Of course, the Fender Twin is a workhorse for many bands, and generally we use this one for my acoustic. We run the 2 lines out of most of our acoustics that go one into an amp through a compressor into an amp, and then the other one goes straight into the DI to front of house. So we use the Fender Twin because, you know, you can get it's a bigger amp. It's harder to overdrive it, especially for the volume. My band plays a little bit lower volume, so we use that as a clean tone.
I think this is one of the first videos that we've done with the rig rundown where we actually have a guy that plays harp. So you got to talk to us about what you're using for your harps and what that's going through.
Yeah, well, up here I have a smaller guitar practice amp, and this is the J12T, the Jet 2, and it sounds great for guitar. It doesn't have quite as much volume as the J20, but it's perfect for harp because this one breaks up at a real overdrives at a much smaller volume. So as far as playing harmonica through a bullet mic, this is a perfect choice.
Let's see what you got. I know you're a big Gretsch guy.
Okay, well, first off, I'm going to show you something that I was real proud about, which was, I thought, better than any record deal, which was the chance to design a signature series with Gretsch. And this is it's a reissue of the 70s Corvette. And originally I designed it black with a gold racing stripe. And I said, hey, I'm from Philly, so big Eagles fan. And I said, could you make one with the Eagles green and a white stripe just for me? So he had this one sitting up in his office, Joe Carducci from Gretsch, and people kept coming by saying, well, I like the black and gold one, but what's that green one? So Joe said, well, we want to run with the green one. So we ended up running with the green one, and we call it the Mean Greenie. And then see on the back, you got the G.Love signature. So unfortunately, the guitar's out of production right now, but so it's, I guess, kind of a collector's item now. But it's a great guitar, and
what are some of the things that you kind of were digging on it, or did you pick any specifics about whether the pickups or trim?
Well, it's kind of Gretsch's answer to the Gibson SG, I feel like, you know. So we went with the TV Jones pickups and the Bigsby whammy bar here, and then we just kind of souped up the hardware so that it was going to be a road dog and be able to withstand the rigors of the road. But you know, it's a simple guitar. But it's a great workhorse, and it's a good electric. You know, 60s guitar, made in Italy, and it doesn't even have any name tags left on it because it's been on the road for so long. But it was called a Crucinelli, and it's by the Echo Guitar Company, or one of their makers that started off their own company. But it's really great. It has that mother of toilet seat finish on the back, and
how'd you get your hands on this thing?
this was sitting in the window of a store in Boston called Cambridge Music, and I traded in my 80s Fender Telly, which was the first electric guitar I got, and bought this with the Telly and $125 cash in 1993. And I've made almost all my records on this. And the cover of my first record, which is kind of my, you know, biggest famous record, the cover of it's actually a picture of that blue sparkle. So this is kind of this guitar is kind of integral to my sound, and it's a garage garage rock kind of rough around the edges tune sound.
What do you like so much that about the sound and how you play with it? What makes it that special guitar for you?
Well, I don't know, man. It's one of those things. We don't use these switches anymore because they kind of stopped working. So we hardwired it. We either use all or bass and treble, and we put in our own switch down here. And but it's just got a real gritty sound, and it's honestly over the years I've come into owning about 3 or 4 different ones, and this is a combination of kind of all those guitars at this point, because sometimes the neck would go down or the body would shit the bed, and we would just piece it together. So it's kind of I don't know, man. It's like a yard sale all to itself. Like this Black Penguin, which is a great kind of Gibson Gretsch's answer to the Les Paul, but it's just a classic. And one thing I really love about the Gretsch's is that they're a little bit more flashy than other guitars, and but in a classy way, And I love the headstock. There's the Black Penguin, the Black Falcon, which is a real classic Gretsch guitar, a hollow body, and I use this as a slide guitar in the show, and this guitar really sounds amazing. It's just a beautiful tone, and it's just a real pretty guitar. So it's a real nice addition. Here's the 60th anniversary Gretsch, and I use this also to play slide guitar in the show, and this was the first hollow body I got from Gretsch. And I have a 52 electromagnetic, which is kind of the similar guitar at home, but this is a new one, and the new Gretsch electrics just sound unbelievable, and they really have an authentic tone. So this is a really slick guitar. I keep it in open D.
I was just say, what kind of tunings do you use for the various guitars you got here?
I use this one in open D, and then that Black Falcon we use in open G. The ultimate sound for me is the Gibson J45, which is kind of their classic acoustic model, and model that a lot of great musicians have used over the years. This is a 2008 J45 we just got from Cody Allen at Gibson in Austin, and it's a beautiful, beautiful guitar. And this, I just picked it up on this tour actually, and this is now my main acoustic. And the thing I always notice about guitars is that some guitars could be the same make, same model, they just sound differently. They're handmade instruments, so every one you get is going to be different. And the minute I pick up a guitar, I can tell right away. It's like kind of like trying on a pair of jeans. You know right away, like whether you want to walk out the store with them. And sometimes you put on a pair you have to leave with. And it was the same thing with this guitar. The minute I picked it up, I was begging Cody to let us take this puppy on the road. The thing about the J45 is that it can really stand up to like a lot of heavy strumming. And then it's also real pretty on the finger picking stuff. So my drummer says, man, you should just play it real quiet, because the softer you strum it, the prettier it sounds. But when I play, I like to get a lot out on a stage, so I kind of bang away a lot. But it's definitely, it has the power to withstand that heavy strumming, and it really sounds pretty when you're really finessing it. So the J185 and the J185 12 string. So
What do you use the 12 string on?
I'm on this tour. Mark Boyce, my organ player, we do a song where we all come out and play acoustic guitars together. The new single called Just Fine, and he comes and plays on the 12 string. But on my solo tour, I use the 12 string a lot. And then the 185 is, it's similar to the J45. It's just a different body style.
Looks like you got a Seymour Duncan pickup on there.
Yeah.
It's kind of.
We run a dual pickup system out of the back, which we learned from our good friend John Butler in Australia, and we use a built-in Fishman pickup in the bridge that comes from the factory, and then we add the Seymour Duncan in the sound hole. Hohner Harmonicas is one of my big supporters, and they're the best harmonicas and the oldest harmonicas made, and they're the Marine Band is the harp I use, which is what I use that because the people that I love use them: John Hammond and Little Walter and Bob Dylan. So that's how I roll. I kind of go with the banjo. Say, hey Frank, this is the guy that makes it all happen.
How's it going, guys?
Frank Caraccia. And if you got a better gig for him, give it to him, 'cause I can barely afford to pay this guy. I use Dunlop picks. I use a thumb pick, and I either use 2 Dunlop finger picks as well, or I just go with the fingers and the. But I've been I haven't used the finger picks for years, but now that I'm playing a lot more acoustic in the show these days, I find that I get a lot more presence with the finger picks as well. So I've always used the Dario strings since I was a street musician. I don't know why. I've always picked them, and then I always liked them because they're environmentally conscious company, and they use a lot less packaging than a lot of other companies. See, environmentally friendly set, and that's why I've always been a big supporter of them. And on top of that, they make the best strings. So I use medium gauge. These are light gauge for the electric, so I can do more bends, and on the acoustic I use a combination of light and medium. So it's light on the high strings and heavier on the low strings.
If everyone wants to keep track of your tour dates, and I know that you do the video blog once in a while, where should they go online to check that out?
Go to Philadelphonic.com. So it's like the city and hooked on phonics. Philadelphonic.com, and you can get all of our information about the tour dates and merchandise. You can get a bottle of G.Love and Special hot sauce for your dinner. You got to have some hot sauce, and get the new record "Fixing to Die," which is out now.
Again, thank you very much, Garrett.
All right, thanks again. Appreciate it, Chris.
All right, this is Chris Keys, hanging out at Majestic Theater, Madison, Wisconsin. You're watching PremierGuitar.com.